Hello, everyone, and welcome to another new Flower Power Live. As you can see, I am broadcasting live here from my back deck today. And part of the reason why I'm doing that is because, well, first of all, it's summer and it's nice. But today's show was going to be about calendula because it's in harvest mode right now. And what happened was I went out to my garden and there was all this other stuff that I started harvesting. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do sort of a garden harvest show for you tonight. So welcome. I hope you enjoy it. And my name's Allison from The Well Cultivated Life. And I love coming here every week and sharing my plant knowledge and herbal information with you. So thanks for joining me. Now, I cannot guarantee, I'm out on the deck, that they will not see some chickens running around in the back, because when you come out on the deck, they think you're going to feed them some bird seed, and so they come running up. Chickens are a lot like dogs in some ways, if you've never been around chickens very much. But today I wanted to start out by talking about a sort of a cosmological happening that's going on right now, and that's what's called the Lion's Gate. And it's happens sort of a period of time between sort of like the end of July and middle of August. That is when the star Sirius is kind of lining up with the sun, and energetically there's a lot more sort of cosmological energetic energy. So like a little boost in energy coming in from the cosmos. And so this is a time to like really grab onto that and take advantage of it. It can also be somewhat of a tumultuous time because things get really stirred up. So just if you've been feeling things are a little bit different than usual, that could be why. And the big, most concentrated, or the point where Sirius is the closest, is August 8th, which was yesterday. Today's the 9th. And so, yeah, I'll probably be itching mosquitoes and stuff while I'm out here as well. And so we're right kind of at the peak of that. This is also the time for the Perseid meteor showers. So if you're anywhere where you can get a good view of the sky, you should be keeping an eye out for those that are coming up this week as well. So because I was originally starting with calendula, let's start there. Calendula. If you've watched any of my shows, you know that calendula is one of my very favorite plants. It's one of my plant allies. And this year I decided to plant a whole bunch of, the main calendula is this orange. That's the main calendula, or the original calendula. And then of course, there's been a lot of different hybridizing of calendula into these bigger, more double calendula. There's this really cool kind of variegated ones, and you can get these in different mixes. Generally, herbalists will use the orange, or sometimes this single, well, that's a double yellow one as well. But I don't know. I had the seed, so I thought I'd grow a bunch of different ones, and they can all be used similarly. One of the most beautiful things about calendula is its incredible smell. It has this sort of like unique lemony smell. And again, it's good for, you can go back and watch my show from December on calendula if you want more information, but it's really good for all kinds of skin care. It's good for your lymph system, keeping things flowing, and it helps your immune system as well. So it's lovely. It's wonderful as a salve. That's where a lot of people use it. And I'm going to take some of these. You can see I've got some here that have partially dried. And once they dry down a little bit, I'll throw them into some oil to make a calendula oil. And then I'm going to let them just dry for a day. And then this year I'm experimenting with glycerites. So I'm going to be making a calendula glycerite to try. And if you're used to my shows, this is going to be all mixed up today. So I just want to read you the card for calendula. And there it is. And it's about communication. And the flower essence is often used to help you kind of create a cushion sort of around yourself, so that words can kind of bounce off, so that you don't get your feelings hurt on things, and so on and so forth. But this is what this card says, and this is Lisa Estabrook, the Soulflower cards. And it says, our thoughts and words have great power, both positive and negative, for ourselves and others. Calendula helps soothe your thoughts and words with warmth and compassion and understanding, so that there is a balance between assertiveness and receptiveness and communication with others. And I always think of it kind of like it says, softening your words, helping you to hear, you know, it kind of works with that, that whole like input, output, those sort of senses that around, revolve around the fifth chakra, which is your throat chakra, which is about speaking and listening and receiving and giving. So calendula is really great as a flower essence for that. Now let's see what else we got from the garden. So also known as pot marigold, I thought, well, speaking of marigolds, let's go ahead and pick some of these beautiful African marigolds. And I think I talked about this in a previous show. These are not from the same origin. These are from Africa. These are more European. And these are not as commonly used medicinally, but they are quite beautiful. You got a different smell, a unique smell, and everybody likes to grow them in your garden. They work really well. It's like a plant that helps kind of keep other insects at bay. And so a lot of people plant them in their gardens to help just kind of a natural insect control. I am going to take these and make them in, I'm going to dry them down, and then I'm going to make a hair rinse with them. They're nice for a nice hair rinse. So that's what I'll be using with those. Just another little bit. I also harvested some of these little globe amaranth. I'm going to dry those for bouquets for the winter. And of course, this time of year, basil. Now, one of the things, if you grow basil, a lot of times people always wondering, well, how can I keep my basil growing well? And I made a video about this. If you go on my YouTube channel, which is The Well Cultivated Life on YouTube, I made a whole video about how to harvest your basil and how to keep it growing. And one of the things you'll notice here is that the flower stalks are starting to come up on these. And if your plants go to flower, then they're going to make seeds, and then they're like, oh, hey, I did my job. I'm all done. And so a lot of times people neglect to pinch those flowers off. And if you do that, it keeps them from going to seed. They will continue to put out more and more leaves, which of course on basil is mostly what we want. Now I'm going to also use these flower heads. If they aren't too far along, you can actually use the flowers as well. So you should smell what this smells like out here. Oh my gosh, so delicious. Everybody loves basil. Well, I think everybody loves this. There are people that don't love basil. I don't know. Speaking of flowers, I did a show on mint back in May, and here is my apple mint. It's now in flower, and this is a incredible, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about bee balm and what a great pollinator plant it was. Mint is also very, very good plant for pollinators. These all different kinds of wasps and bumblebees love my mint. This plant gets very tall. It's probably, gosh, it's probably at least 5 feet tall out of my garden. I got a huge patch that I've had for a long time. So this is the apple mint. Again, delicious smelling. I always harvest a lot of that every year. And again, I'm going to harvest the flowers. I wait till it goes into flower because I like to use the flowers. Now, when I was out in the garden, I realized what it was that I was going to actually do this week. And that was this lovely plant, fennel. Now, some people might think of fennel as the big bulb that you can buy in the store, and that is a type of fennel. But this particular fennel that I grow is a leaf fennel, and it's got these beautiful leaves. It's currently in flower, and I did a cooking camp with, last 2 weeks ago, and we did an herb tasting, and I brought in the fennel flowers, and they loved them. They didn't like a lot of the other herbs that they sampled, but They loved them. So, and you can see here the flowers I can harvest. I can use the leaves. And this one here, you can see how they're starting to go to seed. So these are starting to make a seed. I probably would not normally harvest them in this stage. There's another one a little bit farther into making seed. And then once these all go to seed, I will collect the seed, and I use that in teas. Good for tummy troubles. And I put them into my herbal chai blend that I drink regularly. So that's fennel for you. Now I have to share with you, I planted some amaranth. This is Opono, I think it is. Opono amaranth. This is about 7 feet tall in my garden. It's huge, like a almost like a big stalk of corn. And it is the most gorgeous purple. I cut a little piece off here. Some of them fell down, but amaranth is one of the ancient grains, and it's very nutritious, and it has been used. You can use it in all kinds of, mostly what I've used it for is like in a cold cereal, or throw it, one of these nutritious grains that you can throw in with other things that you are cooking. And last but not least, I had to share this with you. Last year, I planted some collards. And this year, it decided to come back again. And I can't remember this is either old timey blue or it's Vates, one of those two. Look at this giant collard leaf. Now, people where I live, down south, it's much more common, but in a lot of other parts of the US, and I'm guessing with the world, people are just not that familiar with collards. They don't really know what it is, but truthfully, it's like a kind of a milder version of kale. And so I use my collards in my green smoothies that I like to make. And I was so happy to see it growing back this year. It does get attacked by the same cabbage looper worms that attack all of the members of the brassica family. So one of those things, that's why it's got, these ones look good, but you can see a few little holes in it. But a few little holes never hurt anybody. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that's it for my garden tour today. I just wanted to share with you one more card that I drew. And I think this goes along with the other theme of communication, about making sure that you soften your words, that you are, speaking and listening both. And this is one of the Akashic Oracle cards. And I haven't pulled the card from here in a long time, but this is the one that came out, and it says, call forth love. So what better way to communicate with others than from your heart, right? So let's read what this has to say. It says, look into your heart, allow your attention to be drawn deeply into the center of your being. Know that the pain and suffering of injustice will begin to soften and melt when met with unyielding love. I love that. Call on this universal energy, call forth love. Breathe it first into the whole of your body, and then offer it to the world. So this week, if the Lion's Gate energy is getting a little too intense for you, just make sure that you're communicating from the heart with love. And what's better to love than a handful of delicious calendula? If you do not grow this, you need to next year, or find a farmer that does grow it for you, and make sure you get this into your life. That's all I got for you today. If you're not already following me on Instagram, my handle is @cultivatemylife. And for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be traveling to the West Coast. And so I'm looking forward to finding some plants out there that I can share with you, whatever's in season right now. And I'll be doing my show on the road, Flower Power on the road. And so until then, have a wonderful week, communicate with love, and I'll see you next week. Take care.